Hi, beautiful souls. Hi, my name is Sadhana. Welcome to my channel. It's Thursday night again, my regular weekly live, and we talk about things related to the tarot and to life and other things metaphysical. So welcome. Tonight our topic is the knights and the queens of the court of the tarot. And just before we kind of dive into the topic, I just want to say hi to everyone who's online. And if you're watching this in the playback, just know that I always read the comments and I back through the chat, because often during the video I miss out on some of the chat. So it's my pleasure to watch it in the playback. And right now it is not showing for me. So hopefully I can see it on my phone. Please just bear with me. I'm going to get the comments on my phone. There we go. Okay. Hi, and so yeah, so my computer's doing this again, but I just dawned on me that I can have my phone here so I can read them on my phone. Make sure I'm on live chat. Great. So welcome. And I want to say thank you for the cups of coffee. I've received several cups of coffee this week from various subscribers, and you know, I really appreciate it. It's kind of a unique way to connect, and it just is a beautiful way to reach out. And so I want to say thank you. Most of the coffees this week were anonymous, and so I won't say people's names. And there's a couple of people who I'm having coffee with every week, and it's really cool. So hi, Kyle. Hi, Michelle. Nice to have you here tonight. I'm looking at the comments down on my phone because my computer is doing that weird thing again. So I will just kind of have it here next to my notes. So yeah, so thank you. And thank you for the comments. I always appreciate it. And I have not been on all week. I have not uploaded any videos. My house is busy. I have 3 of my kids here, and there's lots of projects going on, and it feels like my space is being recreated. We are accommodating, adjusting for more bodies in the house. And so I'm hoping this week, because I have so many videos on my list that I want to create, and it's my pleasure always, and I love doing it. It's just finding space to do it now, and time, and all of that, and quiet, which is really necessary. So besides the thank yous and what's going on with that, I hope you all are managing. I really do. And my heart goes out to all of you and your families and your friends and everyone. And if you do need to reach out in a way to connect, please do so. And I'm going to speak more to that at the end of the video tonight. Hi, Sierra, Hudson Valley Knits. Nice to have you here. Welcome. So tonight, yeah, we'll continue on with the court card series. And also, if you would like to connect with me in a different way, I'm going to leave these on. I'm also offering various classes on Zoom, yoga classes, meditation classes, and so forth. And I meant to put the link to all of my classes in the description box below before, but I'll do that after. So if you would like to connect with me in a kind of a different light, in a different capacity, you have an opportunity to do that as well. And those classes are all complimentary. There's no charge for them. So, and how did your homework go? I know Kyle shared with me a little bit about her songs. And hi, Shadow's Truth. Nice to have you here. And so last week, I kind of handed out a homework assignment, and that was to try to come up with some songs that were associated with each of the queens of the court. And I know after I signed off, I spent some more time doing that too. So yeah, so please, throughout the chat tonight, if you came up with some songs, please share them. And I'm just trying to figure out where I wrote down, because I had quite a few new ones that I came up with last week. It's so much fun. I love doing it. I've done it many times, and I actually had quite an extensive playlist written out. And if you Google playlists for the court cards. There's a few tarot people that have done some really extensive playlists, and it's really fun, really entertaining. I'm sorry I did not have this handy. Where did I put it? Okay. Maybe I will get that ready and I will share with you my playlists next week. But I hope you had fun with that, because it's a great exercise. And so what you do is you kind of think of some lyrics and you think of some favorite songs and you try to match songs to every single one of the court cards. And it's a really beautiful way to draw connections to them and to have this personal connection with them, because we all like different kinds of music. Hi, Jen. Nice to have you here. And who else is signing in? So it's and one of the playlists that I looked at I didn't know any of the songs on it, so that kind of shows you how old I am. But yeah, so find songs that resonate with you, and it'll really make this process a lot easier. So we're going to talk about the nights, and I know I'm kind of jumping all over the place, but I just wanted to go with what felt right. And I really appreciate what EJ said. She kind of supported my thought last week. I started with the queens because behind or from every queen, we are all birthed, and right, they are the source of all of the children. And there's something about the nights that I really like. I find that they are tremendously interesting to read when they come up in a reading, whether it indicates travel or this kind of movement. There's a lot of energy with them, and I really enjoy reading the nights in a reading. So I went back to the Marielle, and I don't know, I really like Mary White's guidebook. She has this beautiful perception of everything. And I think one of the things I really appreciate about the Tarot of the Abyss guidebook is that it dives into so much metaphor, and there's so much there. And so every time I read it, it's like I pick out this one little nugget, and there's something that feels really, really connected. And so I really like that book. I've chosen, if you saw the thumbnail for tonight, I have not as many decks as I did last week, because tonight we're going to have some conversations between the mothers and the sons, and I thought that would be kind of fun. But I wanted to just talk a little bit about these relationships. And like I said, the chat's not working on my computer, which is right there in my eyesight. I have to look down at my phone. So if I don't see your comment, I apologize, because sometimes I tend to get really focused in these. So have a look at this Knight of Wands. And in Mary's guidebook, she talks about this creature started as one of the wildcats. I forget which one. And she said that as this card developed, she didn't want to have it represent any particular animal. It is the dark night. It is the night that is in contrast to the other three nights. The other three nights in her deck represent a sense of lightness, and this one is the dark night. And so the actual animal association, she says, is not particularly important. What's important is the energy of this particular night. And one of the things I really like that she said was about the lightning that's on the paw, and whether the animal is carrying the lightning or whether that energy is within that particular night. And so you can look at that from two different directions. The lightning will always find its way. It will always find the least path of resistance. It will strike where it is the easiest to strike, right? It'll make that direct connection. And there is that sense of energy and power and almost recklessness about this particular night. He is passionate and he is intense and he has an incredible, incredible libido. And so when I'm looking at this card and I'm thinking, Who is leading whom? Is the energy leading the night, or is the night leading the energy? And all of this passion and all of this energy is contained within this night. And so when we look at the Knight of Wands in the tarot, it is really, really intense. This is the Osho Knight, right? Which actually has the keyword of intensity. And I really like this card. It really feels like it reminds me of everything that is supposed to be going on, you know, with the energy of this night. And then that whole kind of raw passion and sexuality. I absolutely love this Knight from the Slow Tarot. I mentioned in another video that I would love to find him, date him, hang out with him for a while. So the other thing about the intensity of this Knight of Wands, of course, is that it is, and all of the knights are always moving. So last week we talked about the queens who are internal. Everything is kind of moving inward, and we talked about the inhale breath and kind of looking at the queens as that big inhale, that receptive energy. And the knights, much like the kings, are this outward energy. They're always going away. They're on a quest. They're always on a journey, and they're always heading out and moving away for one reason or another, moving to different corners of the kingdom, depending on what their journey is. And depending on how they approach their journey will depend on, you know, where they go, how they travel, what the purpose of their travel is, whether it's travel or it's a passion, more of a passionate journey. And I have one of my daughters, you know, she is a Knight of Cups to the T. And when we're talking about court cards, please remember, and I said this last week, that it is really important to not associate the court cards with gender. So all 16 of these persona, all 16 of these archetypes, all 16 of these energies in the tarot card court are held within our energy body, I believe. And there are many, many ways to read the court cards. And for me to see that energy within myself, if I'm doing the reading for myself, or within the querent, within the sitter, whatever you call the person on the other side of the table, it's a really interesting way to look at it. And I know I'm repeating myself. A lot of you heard me say this before. So this is also represented, this aspect, in those relationships that are around you. So the reason why those people, you are in relationship with those people, is so that you can learn from them. And those aspects that you need to see within yourself are being reflected back by other people. So when you ask the question, does that particular court card represent somebody else, or is it an aspect of me? Doesn't really matter, right? It's going to come up with the same answer, the same energy. And sometimes it's just easier to look at it in another than it is to look at it in the self. So I really see these as mirrors into the soul. And yeah, look at this one. This one came up quite a bit in when I did the year ahead cards, the second set of readings that I did. Excuse me. And there's something really kind of special about this particular one. One thing I love that the wand is suspended above his palm. Reminds me of the energy of the magician, and it makes a really easy connection to the magician to see the wand levitating, floating above his hand. And then when I see the steam coming out of the volcano, I think, okay, that just reminds me about the aspect, well, steam is actually water, right? Steam is actually water, but I see air in this particular picture, which takes me back to the reminder. I like it when cards remind me that all of the nights are about the energy of air. Now, this is just one. Michelle, you're so close to buying it. If you want to see quite a few readings with it, go to the, I did 2 videos, follow up for the year ahead cards for 2020, and I used it in all of those readings. And so you can get a good look at how it reads, or how it reads for me. So the other thing is that there are different systems, and not all of you will associate the nights with air, but I do. Mary White does, and a lot of the teachers do. Some people associate the nights with fire, but for me, the association is air, and the cups are water. Okay, so the mothers are water, the sons are air, and so that card in particular really fits for me. This Knight of Wands has this tremendous sexual energy. You know, he's just got that great appeal. He's the guy at high school that everybody wanted to date. Well, anybody who had the nerve to get near somebody this kind of outgoing. He's probably the captain of the soccer team, or the captain of one of the sports teams. You know, he's just got that real, that kind of energy. But you might not be attracted to that. So, and that's another thing, right? So I say that, but you might be repulsed actually by that kind of behavior. So that's where I'm coming from. And so know that every interpretation is a reflection of something also within myself. And that's kind of an important thing to keep in mind. So you take the bits that resonate with you and you leave the rest. Maybe how make cheese sandwich could be deleted. Thank you very much, Jen, if you can get to that one. It's pretty funny. Actually, I know how to make a cheese sandwich. I make a darn good cheese sandwich. It's a troll. Okay. Sometimes I think the trolls are so funny. In the Tarot of the She, we have the warriors. And this is a really beautiful way to also to look at the suit of fire as the warrior. And how many of you are Grey's Anatomy fans? I don't know. So, you know, when they go into the operating room and Amelia stands like this to imagine she's a superhero before she goes into surgery? Anybody know what I'm talking about? It's that embodiment of the warrior, that embodiment of the hero, and the strength and the power of all of that. I really feel that energy with this suit. And when you look at these two together, you just, you know, you get that inner strength. So in this suit of fire, in this court of fire, we have this passion and this strength and this physical strength of the body, and this physical strength of character, a tremendous stamina. This is the kind of person that when you travel with, they have no problem going from activity to activity. They want to go kayaking. They want to go hike the mountain. There's just always something going on. These are not the travel companions who want to lie around by the pool. Okay, so there's that aspect. And then there's this aspect also of, well, the adventure comes along with that, but the creativity. So there is this intense need to create something, to make something. And often with the Knights, this will come out in I talked about the libido, but that sexual power, that sexual energy. You see that with the Queen of Wands on her throne. Often she's pictured with her knees apart, and that strength, and again, that same kind of warrior pose and warrior posture. Let's have a look at a few other Queen of Wands here. And I'm going to go, actually, we should go on because I want to have these little fun conversations after. Okay. So I was talking in the Marielle how this one is the Dark Knight. And she talks about the other three as being in contrast with the dark night. These ones are all light. And I find this really interesting, and I love it, love it, love it. And I will refer to Tarot of the She in a moment, because Emily Carding also brings this up. How the embodiment of this fire is contained within all the other suits, within all the other elements. If we didn't have this creative energy, we wouldn't have these other nights. Let's go to the night. Let's go to the next really active night, the Night of Air. So here the Night of Air is wearing the mask of a lion. And in this particular night, there is this huge range of connection between the knowledge that is quite mundane, the book knowledge, the memorization, the know-it-all kind of mundane knowledge, as opposed to the wisdom and the connection to spirit. And so within the energy of the Knight of Swords, you're going to get a whole range of night energy. Everything from the, again, very virile, fast-moving, intellectual. I should have pulled out more of a reality deck for tonight. But there's also a tremendous, tremendous potential with the Knight of Swords for, this is a Sastra Ibido Tarot, for that connection to divine wisdom. Mary White talks about the mouth of the lion being the portal to the abyss. And she refers to the abyss as the universal consciousness. And she doesn't say that directly, but that's what I see her saying the abyss as. And so that mouth of the lion represents that connection to another dimension. And so through the lion's mouth, we connect to spirit. And they are riding on the owl, riding on the animal of wisdom and the animal of experience with tremendous focus. Look at the eyes of the owl. It's kind of cool to see that. So within the Knight of Wands, we have a huge range of fire and ambition and passion. Oh, sorry, I want to kind of go back. So this is important. And Tarot of the She, I'm going to go back because this connection is absolutely brilliant. So here in the Dark Night, which she calls it the Dark Night, we're connected to the subconscious. We're connected to the jungle. We're connected to the energy of the shaman. Here is the Queen of Wands, who is holding the baby jaguar. And I'm wondering if at some point the intention was that the baby jaguar in this card becomes the knight in this card. And he is somehow released and let go. And so this energy of the jaguar is the energy that supports the shaman traveling between worlds, traveling between dimensions. And so we have another knight that has the ability, that has the potential to travel between, to be in that liminal space. And I love this. I love this when this comes up, because it's so important for me to not discriminate between elements and nights and to see these connections, right? There isn't one night who's connected to liminal space and spirit, right? We can see that energy within all of them. And I talked a little bit about the gems that are on the queens in the Marielle, and she has the obsidian here in her crown, right? The obsidian that is forged through the volcanic fire, right? It's volcanic glass. It's created through this tremendous amount of pressure. And oh, that was a word that also came up in connection with the suit of Pentacles. So in the suit of Pentacles, and I know There's a lot of people that come up with like diamonds are a girl's best friend for the Queen of Pentacles. I know we were going to do songs next week, but that's one song. The whole idea of diamonds and wealth and riches is often connected to the Queen of Pentacles, the suit of Pentacles in general. But those diamonds are also forged in the fire, in the heat of the earth, through pressure and all kinds of cool processes. And so this kind of weaving of the elements, and each one being a part of the process of the other ones, is absolutely fascinating to me. Yeah. So let's go to a couple of Queen of Swords here. I showed you the Knight of Swords, but I wanted to just look at these two, and we should actually have a conversation between these two. I think I'm going to interview these two because it looks like he's charging right into his mama. The other thing that's important to remember about the queens is that they are intensely passionate about their element. They understand their element to the core of their being. And sometimes that can go too far. So that is going to be reflected as the shadow side in any of the queens. And sorry, I have to fix a cord. Okay, oh, please stay. So I'm going to go over here. I'm going to go to Osho Zen because this really, really shows. Hello from Manila, Liberius. I used this deck for a long time, years I used this deck. And this suit of clouds, so there's the Knight of Air in this deck and the Queen. I just didn't like the interpretation of the court cards in this suit. And when a deck shows the such an extreme shadow side of the suit, I find it really hard to work with because I try my best to see the shadow and the light in every single card. Oh, Liberius, we were talking about court cards. So last week we talked about the queens. This week we're talking about the knights, and I'm going to try to integrate some information between the knights and the queens. Okay? Yeah, so I just found Osho Zen really difficult to work with because there must be a time when that element of air is not just about that consumed mind, being too much in the mind. And that whole suit of air in the Osho Zen feels like a 9 of Swords. And I don't know what to do with it. So sometimes eventually I'll put it away, but it is a very, very potent deck. Yeah. Do any of you have this, you know, this deck? It's called the Housewives Tarot. It's a very kitschy deck. But I think there's something about this deck. I think the Suit of Cups has a really good lesson in this deck. But also there's something, it rings true in some aspects. It's not a deck that I would ever use for a public reading, but sometimes I like to look at it and to reflect on its cultural message. There's the Queen and the Knight. Yes, Ange, this is the Housewives Tarot. And so I think that it's a reminder about the cultural perspective. And when we have a collection of decks that were created in different decades from creators from different cultures, different times, different demographics, different colors of skin, different gender identification. We really pick up on the energy of the deck creator themselves. And so sometimes we really get drawn into the energy of the deck creator, and it's difficult to bring in clear, when I'm doing a reading, I feel like it's 85% downloads. I'm just listening to these messages, and these messages are just kind of spewing out of my mouth. And when we have heavily themed decks, that sometimes, it becomes very distracting. And so that's why I think a lot of people prefer to stick to the Tarot de Marseille or Rider-Waite, or a deck that is less distracting, less confusing in that regard. Yeah. So just a comment on that. So I want to go back to what I was saying about the elements, building on the elements. And I have quite a few things I want to share with you on my desk here. Mary White. So in the Landscape of the Abyss, when she gets to the Knight of Cups, and I'm just going to read this to you because it's better than paraphrasing it. She says almost exactly the same thing as Emily Carding does in the Tarot of the She. So she's talking about this particular, if you don't have the deck, this is the Knight of Pentacles in Marielle. And he is supposed to represent the Siddhartha Buddha, the Buddha before he became enlightened. And so she talks about his journey and the metaphor of all of the aspects of his journey in her book. And at the end of it's the longest description of all of the knights in her book. She says that the Knight of Pentacles, the Knight of Earth, is the manifestation of all of them being all of the knights. The idea that here and now, in the present, in your life, you have all that you need to feed yourself and your soul. That whatever it is, that whatever you seek out there is not in the clouds, but it's in your heart. You are home. And so she describes, how I see it is, she describes the other three knights as very much as going out. They're all out on their quest. But the Knight of Pentacles has kind of figured it out. And that's why the Knight of Pentacles is moving more slowly. The Knight of Pentacles on the back of the turtle, the Knight of the Pentacles who is on a slower horse, because he doesn't need to be racing off to the far corners of the kingdom anymore. He's embodied the energy of air, of fire, of water, and has really kind of figured that out. Bye, Jen. Okay, so in Emily's book, so this is Tarot of the She. She has a few different associations with the elements, and in her deck, she does not introduce the elements in what I call is the usual order, which is Wands, Cups, Swords, Pentacles. She starts with air being the thought, the ideas. And she says, we go from the initial idea of the dreamers, which is the suit of air, into the fire and the passion and the creative energy of the warriors. Here, why don't I show you all of these? Because they're so beautiful. I'll try to hold them up while I read the bit. So this is the Knight of Air. We go from the initial idea of dreamers into the fire of passion and creative energy of the warriors, into the watery womb. This is such a crazy beautiful. Into the watery womb or ocean of gestation and emotional engagement of the dancers. And finally, into the physical form with the makers. So she, much like Mary White of the Marielle Tarot, see each of the elements building on each other. And so to me, that really sits well, that when we're looking at the Knight of Pentacles, he's really embodied and he contains much more. That's why he's reliable. That's why he's solid. That's why he's going to be a great family man. That's why he'll be around. And she, right? They will be, they're much more, let's just say reliable, right? So their journey, they're not so compulsive. They're not so relentless. So I think that makes a whole lot of sense to me. So there's all of this that I have said. And then I finally got around to watching Tarology. How many of you have seen Tarology? So this is the movie that Enrique Enriquez created about the Tarot de Marseille and how he reads the Tarot de Marseille. And you can rent it on Vimeo. It's about $4 or $5. It is so worth it. I've had so many people tell me, watch it. You need to go and watch Tarology. It's going to change the way you read cards. And I really enjoyed it. And so Enriquez reads the cards much like, he's not the only one that does it, but the readings are very active. And so for him, the facings of the cards, the physical gestures of the cards the facial gestures are critical. So, and of course, he's only talking about the Tarot de Marseille, and he believes that it is the only tarot, and why would you read any other tarot? But I think we can learn something about other decks from his teachings. So for example, in this card, he would look at the relaxed energy of her left leg, how she's sitting in her throne and her legs are completely chilled and relaxed. So this Queen of Air that we often associate being very, very rigid, being very, very rigid, in this deck, just morality is her shadow. Her body language is quite relaxed. So her legs are relaxed. She's sitting tall and proud. She has an amazing, strong body, the way she is sitting there. Her eyes are not completely open. So she might have a soft gaze, but she has this internal focus, and it feels so connected. And so what he does in a reading is he looks at this. He looks at the body language. And one of the coolest things he says on Vimeo, yeah, you can rent it on Vimeo, and it's called Tarology by Enrique Enriquez. And he suggests that, so let me see if I can think of a good card here. So if he were looking at this Queen of Cups, he would say, okay, so get a bowl, go get a bowl and hold it in your arms and feel how that gesture feels and gaze into that. So this particular bowl might represent a child. It might represent, if you look into it, it's a reflection of the stars up in the sky. It's so beautiful. And so one of his suggestions are to feel the energy of all of these court cards, and not just the court cards, but of all of the players throughout the tarot, so that you can understand what it feels like to do this, or to hold something in a certain way, and to really pay attention to where they're looking. Are they looking to something? Are they looking away from something? Are they hunched forward? Are they standing tall? And to really feel that. And his reading is just, it's actually one of the first ways that I learned to read, to not associate with historical associations and symbology, but just to read it as a story, to read the pictures as a movie, and to allow the pictures to tell a story. So I really enjoyed it. And so I think where I have come as a reader, hi Poets Tarot Corner, you're welcome. I think where I have come as a reader is to kind of blend all of this together. And so there's this combination of telling a story. I always pay attention to how the cards are facing. So let's have a look at these two here. And I was looking at these pairs earlier and noticing how both the Knight and the Queen of Cups face in the same direction. They're both kind of looking, depending on how you read the tarot, to the past. We talked about this a few weeks ago too. Is that the past? Is that the future? Is it just gazing in that particular direction? But they're both kind of gazing down to the earth. Their eyes are closed. Their body language is quite soft and approachable. And so if they were in a reading, you know, what I would feel in these cards is that she, the mother, is feeling the energy of her son, because I'm saying her son or whoever this represents, in her arms. The energy, the emotions, the deep connection to this person is being felt in her heart in extension, because that bowl is connected right up to her heart space. The water, right, representing the heart, the emotions. So I have that process. And then as an open channel, there's always other stuff as well too. And so I can be looking at a reading and I'll like go, oh, should I say that? You know, I will have picked something up from the ether and it's like, okay, I've never said that before about that particular card, but for some reason on this day, I need to say that. And so there's this magical connection between weaving the story, having enough information from what I've studied, the different teachers that I've listened to, the different readings that I've had, all the books that I've read, and just kind of weaving the story with the history, with the information from universal consciousness. And it's all really, really magical. We didn't talk about the Knight of Cups. So I want to go there before I do a couple of interviews, which I promised I would do tonight. Show you how I do that. So, Knight of Cups. Knight of Cups. I wanted to go to the Way Home Tarot. I think this is really something. And in the Housewives Tarot, sorry, skipping back to this one. This tarot, I just want to show you a few more of these cards. This is the Knight of Wands. And what this Knight of Wands reminds me of is the troublemaker, the playfulness. It really makes me wonder what kind of trouble this knight is going to get up to. What's his plunger? What's he going to be doing in the neighborhood? But in this deck, and one of the reasons that I find a hard time working with this deck is because there's alcohol all through the suit of cups. And of course, this is one of the shadows of the suit of cups, because the suit of cups is about the subconscious. It's about that deep emotion. It's about all of that moon energy coming up to the surface. And it's about, can we manage it? Do we want to process it? Do we want to learn from it? Or do we want to suppress it? And it's a heck of a lot easier to suppress it than it is to walk the talk and to walk through that journey and to be with it and to sit with it and to be in our practices and to work through all of those subconscious and deep emotional lessons that are percolating to the surface. And so it's kind of clever, actually, that that suit is full of alcohol, because that's just sometimes the way that our culture, the North American culture anyway, deals with it. So that is definitely a thing. Okay. So I was talking about in the Way Home Tarot, which is right here. And what came to mind, sorry, the light is getting weird here. It's getting kind of dark. So if you look, this is these are beautiful court cards. And this reminds me, I have never been, oh, thank you, Samantha. I've never been, and I'm trying to think of the names. So in Mexico, and I know there's other places in the world where you can go swimming in the caverns, like the grottos from the ocean deep into the earth. And that's what I see in this picture here. I've never done that. I would really like to do that. And I know you can go to these certain places where you can jump down from like a hole in the earth and go deep down into these caves. So that's what I see in his belly. And then I see him, he's got a wine glass. And then I see the queen, who has embodied the element and understands the element more deep within her soul, doesn't have the glass in her hand. So I see the knight as learning to manage the element. He's the rookie. Of course, the pages too, and we'll talk about the pages on another day, but he's also learning to process that hard stuff. And so in reaction to that, the Knight of Cups also is very romantic and is a poet and is a very, in that regard, if you like that kind of lover, is a very, very sweet lover in that way. And we'll make sure you have flowers on Valentine's Day, and we'll pull out your chair, and is very courteous and very sensitive to your needs and sensitive to your emotions. But he's just learning to process that, or she is learning to process that. And again, I reiterate, do your best not to have gender associations with the cards. So in the Sasrabido, we just had one. And I promised you this week I would pull out more gender neutral cards, and I didn't do that. So again, I will do my best to do that. So let's look at the Dancer Prince, the Gift of Passion, and the Tarot of the She. So we have the moon, the full moon energy. We have the water down below, and he's behind a tree. He's behind the wisdom of a tree. And it's almost as if he is entering into the space. He's entering into the space of his relationship with all that the water represents. So I'm just going back to my notes. These are creative, artistic souls. They're counselors and therapists, as are their mothers, as are the queens. And they're keenly aware of the spiritual world. Oh, I was going to read you. I have a couple things I want to read. I love books, if you haven't already figured that out about me. Okay, so and this is actually, I don't know where this is from. This is Khalil Gibran, The Prophet. If you have The Prophet, it's one of my favorite books. I talked about it a bit in the video, Getting to Know Your Tarot Tubers A to Z. And this quote is from the Knight of Cups, which I will hold up. Another amazing card in this deck. So this is your Grail Knight as well. And you'll see many, many biblical associations to Percival and all kinds of mythology. And so this quote from Khalil Gibran is, "Keep me away from the wisdom which does not cry, the philosophy which does not laugh, and the greatness which does not bow down before children." Keep me away from the wisdom which does not cry, the philosophy which does not laugh, and the greatness which does not bow down before children. I think that's so beautiful. So this is your knight that is not afraid to feel. And I think of all of the knights, he's the one that just is brave enough. He's the one that's brave enough to feel. Bye, Hudson. So yeah, so I found that quote really, really touching. Last week, I talked about not only finding songs, but taking time to have a chit chat with your cards. Taking time to really get to know them and to ask them questions. And I wanted to kind of demonstrate that a little bit today because it wasn't clear to some people. And this is very much a journaling exercise for me. There's no right or wrong way to do this. This is the Queen of Pentacles from the Druid Craft Tarot, the trimmed version. And the Queen here is sitting on her throne. She's barefoot. Again, her legs are relaxed. She's very comfortable on her throne. It looks to me like she's playing her drum very softly. And her gaze is looking out beyond where she's sitting to something in the distance. And so as I'm looking at her, I probably am writing down in my journal, and I'm asking her questions like, what are you calling in? Is the beat of your drum to call in some energy? Are you comforting? Are you comforting someone with the beat of your drum? Who are you looking at? What are you looking at? And is that reflection, is what you are looking at reflected in your song? What is your song? What is the song that you're beating on your drum? What is the beat? And is that beat something, is that how your heart is feeling at this time? She looks very, very relaxed in her chair. So to me, it feels like that beat is nourishing, it's comforting someone. And so I have this conversation and I just keep asking these questions in different ways, rewording the question until it becomes clear to me what it is, why she's beating her drum and what she's beating her drum to, which is very, very different from the chit chat I'm going to have with this Queen of Wands here. And there's this fire in the background, raging, raging fire. Kind of reminds me of the Lover's card in the Slow Tarot with that house burning in the background. If you know that card, you know, like I'm going to ask her, like, what what is that fire about? Why are you not doing anything about that fire? Why are you so relaxed? Why are you so relaxed with that raging fire going on behind you? What is it, or how have you learned to manage? How have you learned to manage that fury? How do you divert that fury? We talked about this one here and his mother. And so if we had a conversation between the Queen of Wands and the Knight of Wands in this deck, it would be like, well, Mom, I'm not going to use expletives on my video. Mom, I'm so angry. I'm so angry. I feel all this passion towards whatever it is that's on your mind, you know, bottling up inside me. And here's Mom. Look at her. She's dancing. Her body is in movement and she's swaying. And so she's going to say, son, let's turn on some music and let's dance this out. Let's have a dance party. Let's move our bodies. Maybe let's go for a bike ride. Let's go climb up the mountain, and I'll help you, you know, work through this. And these two are going to work through it with their physical bodies, and Mom is going to support him in his process of understanding what this passion or what this fury is living inside him. And so when I open up a new deck, what I do is I usually one suit at a time, I have a look at the family and I have this little meeting with the family. So let me get you another deck here. There's not too many. Let's go to the suit of water. I love this suit. No, that's rainbows. Sorry, I've got a bit of a mess on my desk. Just bear with me here. All right. So we can go rainbows, water. Oh, I lost it. Okay, well, we'll go with. So I've got waters and rainbow from this suit. Where are you? Oh, here we go. Okay. So this is the suit of Earth in the Osho Zen Tarot. And the Queen is sitting on a lotus. And she is looking to the past again. So if you take that direction as the past, her arms are in a gesture facing upward. She has this beautiful light energy behind her. And so her belly is completely relaxed. And there's water underneath the lotus that's bubbling up in the pond. And then this is the night. So the night is moving to the light. There's a sense of wisdom here as well, too. And so that embodiment of the energy of all of the suits, I really feel in this particular night, this night of Earth. And so the conversation between these two is probably going to be a very spiritual one. And I'm going to ask them about the light. I'm going to ask them how they experience the light. Do you feel it? Do you see it with your three-dimensional eyes? You know, I want to know what that Queen of Rainbows, the Queen of Earth, is seeing and feeling in that beautiful body position. Like, to me, she looks like a goddess. And all of the queens have that energy of the goddess within them. That the goddess being, I touched on this last week. So in the Marielle Tarot, she says it so eloquently that in this card, the Queen of Air is the landscape. The Queen of Air is everything that is manifest. The Queen of Air is everything that is around. And here in this deck also, this Queen is an embodiment of all that is manifest. But there's this tremendous connection to spirituality. And so I'm going to have this conversation about spirituality between these two. And it looks like her son is, I would say an old soul. And he might have a very hard time walking through life, walking through his journey. It might be a little challenging for him to be in this earth being such an old soul. And so, Mom, can you give me some advice on how to navigate going to work? How am I supposed to go to work when I know there's things that are so much more important? And I think these kind of journaling exercises are so potent. They're so potent. And it's a very different kind of exercise than doing the research with the songs. The songs is very light and fun. And these kind of court interviews among the court players they're deep. They're deep. And they really they can touch on something very special within your own soul. This is the Knight of Water, the Knight of Cups in the Osho Zen, who is jumping off a cliff, perhaps. I think the keyword, I cut the keywords off on this deck, was trust. And so this Knight is one with the ether, one with the universe. And again, here we have another completely spiritual queen. You can see the feminine body behind the lotus and all those lines of energy radiating out of her. And so I'd kind of be asking, this Knight would be, the queen would be asking the Knight, to make sure to advise the Knight that he is not jumping or leaping towards something, but just to be in the process. And so the conversation for these two would be about that leap of trust, what does it feel like to be in trust? That kind of thing. So I really like to do that. And sometimes it flows so fast, and it's really, really fun to kind of step into them. And what I was saying earlier about that Enriquez video, and the way that he totally recommends feeling the postures. So let's pick a card we haven't looked at. So here's the Knight of Wands in the Druidcraft. So he would say, go and sit on something, straddle something, get something quite heavy and hold it up with one hand, and then do something with your other arm and see what you're feeling, and see how it feels to embody that energy. And I think through that kind of an exercise, you're going to understand a lot better the energy of the cards. And if you can allow yourself to flow in your reading and to weave the stories, and to allow the body language to, of course, allow, because you have chosen that deck for that particular reading at that particular time. So that's the perfect deck for this reading. So when things come up from that reading, or different symbols or different facial expressions, or there might be something in this Knight of, I remember the first time I had this Knight of Air, it was the most perfect card. And I wish I could remember the story, but this was exactly how I was feeling in the moment. And all those birds, I knew exactly what they were. And so if you can trust that you do have the right deck for the reading at the right time, and to sit with it, and I don't know who Nora is addressing. Hi, Nora. I don't know if I've seen you before on my channel. Um, I will, what was I going to say? Just trust that you have the right deck at the right time. Oh, so the tendency for some people is you lay down a few cards and it's like, well, I don't like that card, or that doesn't make sense. And so it's shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. Let's pull 5 more cards. But the truth is, you only need those 3 cards to answer your question. And so perhaps the problem is that you didn't ask a clear question. And so it's really important that you learn as a tarot reader to start asking, good questions, and to work on asking questions. 2 more things before we close tonight. Do you know this book? So I wanted to read you 1 paragraph from the Knights because this is so funny. So this is by Jodorowsky and Marianne Costa. In the section on the court cards, he has a little speech, if you would, by each of the court cards. And I'm going to read you the one from the Knight of Swords, okay? So this is the Knight of Swords as he would speak in this particular Tarot de Marseille. My horse, strong as that of the Knight of Wands, is both more refined and more agile. I guide him in a large leap that projects me from the realm of the intellect into the mystery of the emotional. My horse and I are one. While the Knight of Wands acts with the strength of will, my horse and I act with the force of courage. Cleansed of parasitical concepts, we have eliminated, among other things, hope. And with it, fear. We have to transmit the very essence of mind. We know that we are the final manifestation of action. Over my helm, I bear a yellow halo, the symbol of holiness. And with my red sword, similar to a lance, and my agile horse, I am life bearer. What shall I pierce with my sword? The heart of others, the logos made love? I have sacrificed my desire to be in order to enter sacred obliteration. It's really, really clever. And so I think that, and I've done this exercise as well too, is to get the knight, the queen, just get her to talk and allow her to tell you exactly who she is. And this is a kind of automatic writing that it's really, really fun. So yeah, so hello everyone. I know I haven't said hello to all of you, and I will read this back. And the last, so that was, I said that was the second to last. Also remember that sometimes the knights can be really simple, and they can also symbolize just travel. And it can mean that the Knight of Cups is travel by water, or travel to a place of water. So maybe you are doing a question like, should I go somewhere where there's water? Should I go somewhere where it's inland? And so the knights can help to clear that up. So the Knight of Wands is a journey, sorry, the Knight of Earth is a journey over land. The Knight of Cups is a journey over water. The Knight of Air is journey by air. And the Knight of Wands is travel in general. If you could travel by rocket, maybe it's travel by rocket, I don't know. But sometimes it's just, it's a really clear way to see just, sometimes the questions just aren't that hard. They're really simple, right? We make way too much out of the symbology in a reading when really it's just, we can do the whole reading in 2 sentences. And it's not necessary to go on and on because it's obvious what these 3 cards are saying to each other. And so again, I want you to go back to the question. It's so very, very important. So thank you. Thank you for being here tonight. And let me know if you have any questions about anything that I have shared with you. And next week, I'll bring in another one of the courts and I'll try to weave some other things together for you. And I just wanted to say that I am here. I am here for you. I am here for your loved ones. I am here to support you through this challenging time, and that whatever you need, if you are not able to pay my fees, I will waive my fees. There are different ways that you can pay it forward, or make a small donation. And whether you need a reading, or perhaps you need a guided meditation to bring your family down, or to comfort one of your children, I do guided meditations, I do Reiki, I do all kinds of wonderful things. And so please don't hesitate to reach out during this challenging time, because I'm here. And like I said, under these circumstances, whatever you need, I'm here for you, and I'm happy to waive my fees. Okay. And I mean that with my whole heart. Okay. So yeah, so that's it for me tonight. So thank you. And yeah, I look forward to reading this all back. And let me know if, so next week, I haven't decided whether I'm going to do Page or Kings next week. The Queens and the Knights are the two courts that I really kind of energetically get. I energetically understand them. I actually find the Pages and the Kings a little more difficult. So I don't know which way I'm going to go, but I already have some of my favorite Kings and just some of my favorite Pages in mind. And I'll probably do a video at one point where I do fathers and daughters, because I think that's a really interesting relationship to look at through the court as well too. So stay well, and please be in touch if you need to contact me. Okay? Blessings to everyone. See you next week. Namaste.